Hello and welcome back to the classical River Valley civilization of India. Today we're going to take a look at part two, which is the beginning of the Indus Valley civilization. So make sure you have your notes ready because here we go. All right, so when we're talking about the Indus Valley civilization, obviously we're talking about the Indus River, which is to the northwest of India. You have two major cities that do develop along this river, and that is Harappa in the north, the northern part of the river, and then Mohenjo-daro to the south. These cities are some prime examples of the Indus Valley civilization. We'll take a look at those here in a second. Um, all throughout the river, you have towns and cities and villages that pop up that are a result of people farming. Again, keep in mind we're talking about the river valley systems that when our ancient ancestors migrated out of Africa, they're going to settle along rivers during the Neolithic age to farm. And so, again, they trade with each other, but they also traded outside of the Indus Valley. There is evidence and have been archaeological finds indicate that the Indus people would trade with the Mesopotamians. What you see at the bottom, it looks like a bowl, is a stone. I call it a receipt that was found in Mesopotamia, but they would eventually, trade through sea routes to other places. So that's kind of a fascinating discovery there that in a different civilization, you did have contact with the people from the Indus Valley. So, a couple of little things that make the Indus Valley cities stand out. Number one is the fact that they had a complex street system. What I mean by that is they had city blocks. Think about your major cities like New York, Los Angeles, DC, even in downtown Richmond, we have city blocks. And so it shows organization, it shows wealth and power. And so it becomes something that is a big stepping stone for their civilization. Another one is the sewer system, not a lot of people think about it this time, but the sewer system plays a major role because it takes the wastewater away from our homes. And again, a lot of people take this for granted that we have this ability today. At least some people do. I know that there's still people, maybe even in Amelia County, maybe I know for a fact, even in the state, that do not have a public sewer system. And so, again, even with a septic system, that's still taking the waste away from your home. So, this is a huge benefit, especially when it comes to health and hygiene. And so, the people of the Indus Valley are credited with this forward thinking that is way ahead of their time. So, kudos for you all, people of the Indus Valley. And so, we move on and take a look at this photo here from National Geographic. I really like to use this photo because it does show how complex the city life was. Even though we can't really see what buildings looked like, you kind of get a general idea at what's left of it, which is the foundations of these structures. And I tend to use this photo, especially if you look at the background here. In the class, I asked the students, tell me, what do you think city this is? Do you think it's Harappa or Mohenjo-daro? Because the background kind of gives it away. And it is Mohenjo-daro. And so remember, Mohenjo-daro is low in the valley, is relatively flat. I asked students kind of compare it to like Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, that area. If it was Harappa, you would see hills and maybe even mountains like you would in Charlottesville or maybe even Stanton in the western part of our state. Here's an artist's rendition of what the sewer system would have looked like in Harappa. Again, if you notice this stream that kind of goes through, that is your sewer system. And so even today, by our standards, this is extremely low. in that sense, where it's an uncovered sewer system. So you would see waste floating downstream, if you will. And I can imagine how nasty the stench was, especially during the summer months. But it does provide even more of a benefit by having that waste being taken away. Eventually, the Indus Valley, as I mentioned earlier in part one, there are invasions that happen. They come through the Khyber. Too fast. Sorry about that. They come through the Khyber Pass, and the Indo-Aryan people come in and invade and take over the Indus Valley. They were small in number, but mighty in force, if you will. And so what ends up happening is the people of the Indus Valley basically, I hate to use the word victim, but they get dominated by the Aryans, also known as the Indo-Aryans. They kind of flex their muscle and show their control and dominance over the Indus people, the native population of the Indus Valley. The Indo-Aryans created what's called a caste system. This caste system is a way to show social order. And the reason why I have a picture of a person with a broken arm, if any of you have had broken arms before and had to have a cast, you know you cannot move your arm. And so what ends up happening here is the upper castes go directly to the Indo-Aryan people. And then the lower castes go to the native population. And we'll take a look here in the next slide as to what the caste system looked like and what we mean by the upper and lower castes. Now, some students might be thinking I'm saying class. Now, keep in mind, with the caste, just like your broken arm here, you cannot move in a caste system. I repeat that one more time. You cannot move in a caste system socially. What I mean by that is if you are a lower caste, you cannot move up. Likewise, if you're up, you cannot move down, that type of thing. So eventually, over time, the belief system, the religious belief system of the Aryans and the religious belief system of the native Indus people will blend together, and that would become what we call today Hinduism, which we'll take a look at a little later. So, more about this idea of the caste system. So, the caste system, again, was created to control the native Indus population by the Aryans. The Aryans give themselves the top three groupings. The Brahmin in the blue, which is your priests and academics, that means your teachers. Then you have what's called the Kshatriyas, which are your kings and warriors, the ruling class. And then you have the Vaishyas, which are your business owners, your merchants, your landowners, your economic class. And then you have the Sudras. Now, the Sudras was where the non-Aryan people would go. Those were your commoners, your peasants, your servants, your workers. Now, the caste is considered to be hereditary, meaning whatever your grandparents were, your parents were. Whatever your parents were, you are. Whatever you are, your kids will be, so on and so forth. So if you are a Sudra, your family is always going to be a Sudra. If you're a Brahmin, your family is always going to be a Brahmin. And this is the phrase that I like to use with this, and that is from the womb to the tomb. From the time you are born to the time you die, you are stuck in that caste. Now, over on our diagram here on the right, there's a rectangle at the bottom that has the word untouchables. What this group was a group of people that are outside of the caste system, that they were sick, they were unclean, they did the dirty, the low jobs, very poor. And so the idea of the title, untouchable, again, if you were to go and help, if you were to go and accidentally bump into an untouchable, based on tradition, you too then would be an untouchable. Now, what happens here? What happens with this caste system, Coach? The thing is this. That caste system that you were born in dominates your life. What I mean by that is it determines who you marry It determines the level of education you can receive. It determines your wealth, your power politically and economically, so on and so forth. So, what's going to keep somebody from loving someone that's in a higher or lower caste? If they truly love them, why can't they marry them? Well, here's the thing. That's a great thought, great question. But what ends up happening is to kind of reinforce this idea that you cannot leave. The Indo-Aryans bring in this idea of the caste system into religion. People fear what's going to happen to their soul in the afterlife. And by bringing that into this idea, this concept of the caste system, people fear that. And so they're going to follow that a lot closer than if it wasn't a part of the religion. So, what eventually happens to the Indus Valley? We don't know. Because what happens is after the Indo-Aryans come in, the cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro fade away into history and leaves us with the biggest mystery of history for the Indus Valley. And again, there is no evidence of any type of natural disasters. There is nothing of a genocide or a mass destruction of a people. So there's no huge grave sites or anything of that nature. So with that, I leave you, and we will proceed next time on part 3, which is beginning of Hinduism. Thanks for tuning in. I greatly appreciate your time, and I appreciate you. Be safe, and until next time.